And it's another edition of the Nostra Thomas Show here in this wonderful studio, Youngstown studio. I have some special guests tonight. Donnie Dragish, a great local, wears many hats. One of them is digital marketing and also helping our mayor candidate, Mr. Ryan Kelly.
Yes, sir.
The last couple of weeks, a lot of mayor candidates have been in this studio, so we figured we'd give you a chance. But before we do that, I joked around the last show about coming in here with not just oh no, the country's in trouble, but we had Joe, Clueless Joe, some, whatever you call that. It was actually one of the longest addresses since Bill Clinton. So, okay, that alone is enough to laugh about. But I thought it was amazing when his top three challenges of a lifetime, one of them was the worst attack on democracy in this country's history. That would be the attack on the Capitol, but not the one on 9/11. That was his third, a broken window and some, that was, okay, that's how important they feel they are. Way more important than regular people working in a office building. Who are they? Votes. That's about it. And also want to throw out there, Tim Ryan is running for the Senate. Proof again that the least amount of work that you do, the higher you get up in the rankings. He only has 30 years to catch Joe Biden, but he's right there. He's right on that path to gold. How about that career? Well, the least you do, higher up you go. Wow, love that. So we know that's not going to be your campaign. So without further ado, I want to turn this over to you two, because we want to hear about your campaign and moving the city of Youngstown forward and not stuck in zero gear like it has been. Because Tito Brown has been there how many years?
4 years. He's one term, but he's been kind of involved in the city now.
I have no clue.
For how many? I mean,
been a while.
He was in there. He was in the council and all that stuff for a long period of time.
Okay, and again,
making decisions.
I don't know anything he's done, so
Sure.
except not return calls and ignore messages that help the city.
Yeah.
Okay, on that note, there you go.
Yeah, no, I mean, so listen, look, I mean, again, Ryan has a vision. Ryan has been a part of this community. He's born, raised here. Just has the vision for this town to really want to move Youngstown forward, right? So, like, and and we've had several conversations. Like, well, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, what does that mean? Like, yeah, you want to move Youngstown forward, but he has some really, really good points, and we're going to talk about him tonight. But like, he has some great points where like. It's about, in this point right now, it's technology. It is having the smarts, the technology, all these things to lay this groundwork. We're right now, we're on a level playing field with America, right? We have come down to this level point where now Youngstown can actually compete with everybody else too. Mm-hmm. But you know what? We don't have what we need to go to work. We don't have what we need to go to work. And Ryan is going to bring that. That's what he wants to bring. Like that's his play. And listen, and I'm going to tell you, he gets in, and he will. Youngstown's going to be a better place. Bringing broadband, all these things. Broadband. How important is that? Not only to the people of Youngstown, but to all the kids. All the kids in school.
Exactly.
And it's for education. It goes way beyond just saying, oh, well, we just want some broadband to be cool. It ain't about being cool. This is about survival. And Youngstown to move forward, we need this stuff. And now's the best time. So,
I agree. And I just to put some icing on that cake, I offered just to simply have a discussion with Tito about events in Youngstown. My connection, Eric Ryan, other event, the Packard, the events that we did at Eastwood, all the contacts that I made in Vegas, 20 years. You hired somebody that talked a good game, somebody you knew that didn't do one thing. So you get rid of that guy, and now you're going to find another guy. So I'm going, okay, now's the time. Youngstown deserves this. We could connect all these dots. Never even gave me that conversation. Didn't even want to know what I could do. You know, you don't have to give me anything. Here's a lot of things that I think could help the city.
Sure.
Not one discussion. Gave me a cell phone number, and that as far as it went. Yeah. I wasn't important enough to return that. So that was my wonderful interaction.
No, and that's it, Thom. I mean, and, you know, look, it's finally time for Youngstown to move forward, and we need to have the
stop putting people in place that have no business in that position. No. They're going to get another guy, I guess, that owns the. Who isn't more qualified than owning the Four Seasons flea market? I guess that would be the resume you'd want to do events. So it's just that same thing that always happens. Everyone has all these ideas, and then they get in, and they're not pushed to doing any of these things. It's just 4 years under the rug, and nothing's happened.
Right.
So, well, I think, you know, the big part is, and something I said, we deserve substance now. Everybody really has had bullet points of what they want to do. They want to create jobs, or they want to, you know, we're going to bring something here, and it's just bullet points. You need substance. How are you going to do it? What's the approach you're going to take? And you've been in the private sector and business. Donnie, same way. Like, we look at it as there's a problem, we have to solve it. There's no, we'll get to, if we get close to it, maybe we'll get around it. At least we tried. No, we have to fix it. And I think what happens often is when you get in, and this is in any level right now, we fear not being reelected, and we get in and we cower to, like, once we're in, we got over that hump. Now, for me, it's completely about, I want to make a difference. I don't have PRS years. I'm trying to expand. I don't need a job. I have a business that I'm willing to step away from, because I know we've made it way too hard, and we're making it harder than it needs to be. I know there's solutions there, but I'd be okay if we were trying and we were failing, but we haven't even started trying yet, and that's where we're really missing at.
No, I totally agree. Listen,
but I think it's a good point. That's a great point.
It is a great point. He's the business candidate. Let's be real.
And we need that.
I mean, he's the business candidate. He has the experience to know ins and outs of business. People that he talks to are in business. Everybody that, you know what I mean? Like, that's what you need to have to make it's apparent. That's what needs to be put into place, so that we can put this plan into place, follow it, finish it, finalize it, polish it, and get it done, and get all these things done. And
people are tired of politicians.
That's it. You don't want.
It's why Trump won.
He's the only non-politician running. Right. They've all been in politician business for how many years? And
that's where I don't know.
So out of touch.
No, exactly. And I don't know business. There's no place for business in politics. I don't understand it, because I see, again, when you're an entrepreneur, you're in business, you see where most people see problems, you see opportunity, you see solutions, you just see. That's how we see it. That's how you see it. That's where you see it's through my eyes too. And I don't believe it's not an attack on any individual. More so, it's more so the mentality.
Sure.
And common sense is learned behavior, and I don't think we have in our government now, especially locally, the experience that they have no idea how to take us to the level that we need to be. And again, I said today in our press conference, this can't be as good as we could do. This is not. There's no way. And me running is more of, I will not allow the city that I'm born and raised in and I've never left to accept this standard. And that's what it comes down to. This is a standard.
You wouldn't start a business and hire people that didn't know your business just to put them in a position. You wouldn't do that. You'd fail.
But we do that all the time.
But you do it in politics. It makes no sense.
But again, it's you know what regulation does to starting a business. This country was started by mom and pa stores opening up businesses. They've made that, and I know all about that. Somebody starting a business, you better have a couple $100,000. You better be greasing hands all day long to get the stuff that you need done. Okay, so who's got $500,000 to start a business now? The regulations, but people that have done business like you know what those regulations do and how hard it is to make it in the business world. They make all these knee-jerk reactions, like with this COVID. We'll just shut down that and do that. These guys never run a lemonade stand, and they're making all these decisions that change people's lives. I mean, I don't care what you say. There are a ton of small business people that are never coming back from this, ever.
No, they're not.
And food is hard in the best of times. The margins are so low. Now you've got rid of half your capacity, and now you have all these regulations. I mean, come on. There's people that
that's it. I mean, come on. I mean, this is perfect example. Small business owner.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Pizza shop. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of margins do you think he got in pizza?
But I mean, that's
daggone right when everybody's selling pizza everywhere,
on every corner.
So I mean
that's good marketing.
No, absolutely. And you know what? And that's where again, the government side. I mean, you look on a larger scale, but it trickles down to they're out of touch with. If it wasn't for the restaurant industry, just for hitting on that, we would have had riots. It would have been because the supply chain is all backwards. Grocery stores. I had more access to toilet paper than Sparkle did, and through my wholesalers, and that's reality. I mean, the supply chain was so backwards. Restaurants, and now, I mean, again, there is some funding that's going to be talk about being available this week for restaurants, but you know. It's also the tough part is did you lose the dollar just because your revenue was the same as last year? It's different. You're a full scale restaurant. We were in there also trying to provide quality. You're buying everything went up and your prices couldn't go up. You didn't want to beat people up. So it's like they just don't. People don't understand. But you got to be in it, and that's where representatives. Do they represent us? They represent the guys who are actually. Out grinding and working with that.
And to say to that even more so too, like he's talking, I mean, there's a lot of people, I mean, this affected a lot of different restaurants and even in that business, even in that marketing business, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that affects the whole thing. So what are you going to do? You're going to tell a person, okay, so you've been having this place, you've been marketing yourself and you're doing all this stuff. What are you going to just stop marketing? You're just going to stop?
Yep.
You can't afford to stop doing that.
The ones I think that were willing to double down.
Right.
And market when everyone was afraid to are the ones that were.
And those are the ones that are going to take off.
And I think that's, and to kind of pivot it back to, to our conversation, that is where in business, you're constantly looking like, where can we get better? Where can we get better? Where's our opportunity? And I just think we've been on this path of how can we survive? How can we just stay relevant enough to get reelected? And it can't be that way.
And it brings up that poverty mentality.
Yep.
That if you've been around this country, this area has a certain, like there's not enough for everyone. So the idea is to kind of run down your competitor instead of it's that poverty mentality that there's only so much pie to get, and if we don't get it and they're getting it, that means we can't get it.
And before the pie's rotten when it gets down. And that's what's happened. And I think you're 1,000% hitting on the head. It's that comic strip. We found the enemy, and the enemy is us. We're still fighting amongst ourselves.
That's what I mean.
And literally, it's like you don't realize that we've taken it on the chin so many times, and we're still here. We're still surviving. So it's like, at what point are we going to actually start trying? Because who knows how big it could be if we actually got back to trying? Because I don't know how we survived this long with just staying in that same survival.
But it's at that point. It's at that point. We're down. I mean, as far as a place can go, you can't go any further.
No, I think and really, and you only get. That's exactly. I mean, you're exactly right. It can't be lower. It can't be lower than it is. But the crazy part is, we have the assets that are right here to just. The reasons why we were great for so long is our geographic location on the map. We're still we haven't moved. We have a university. I mean, we have companies that are coming in that are willing to alternative energy sources, and they're looking
right between Pittsburgh and Cleveland, right in the middle.
And we have the access roads coming in right into our city.
So something that always drove me nuts was like, and still recently, 3 different presidential terms out of 12 State of the Unions, 2 Obama State of the Unions, 1 Trump, 1 set of Trumps, 3 times Youngstown's mentioned as being a leader in additive manufacturing and 3D printing. When were we going to like just say like, hey, they want us to be the hub for this? And like we just completely
dropped the ball.
So you have the conference, the 3D printing conference is held in another state. New York and California both had neighborhoods fully 3D print with 3D printed material. These are things that should be happening here. We have the institute here, and I bet you if you pulled Youngstown, all 63,000 residents in Youngstown, maybe 500 know what America's Works is. Maybe,
right.
Maybe they know what America Works is, and out of that 500, 50 probably know where it is.
Right,
and that's crazy. I mean, we're talking about the State of the Union. These things are.
This has been on national coverage, and nobody even. It doesn't matter. Like, oh well.
But you know what? That starts with your leadership. When you don't know how to take it there.
We still hold on to Idora Park and the malts. I'm just saying.
No, we
that's
do.
What we love.
Honestly,
that's what we love to.
And that's
talk about.
Still stories in the news about the outdoor park the other day. It blows my mind.
I'm just the original malt. How many different stories about?
So next September it'll be 45 years. The 45 years is like what Black Monday will be. The anniversary.
40. How about that?
Yeah.
We still have those places. They're sitting there. It's like, I mean, at least make it a museum at this point. I don't know.
That's what I say.
We got
like Pompeii.
Yeah, it's just that's a
we had, I had some young guys. They were helping me. We had to pick up a bunch of material for our restaurant, and we drove past Lordstown, and one of the kids asked me, like, "Why Lordstown?" I said, "Because site ready. Like they had land, they got it ready to go, and that's what
they made it accessible for other business to come in, take a look at it. This is what we have. This is what we have to offer. And this is what we're able to put here. And guess what? It came.
And then just grew from one to the next. Hey, we have TJ Maxx, one of the best.
Oh, once you get a stake in the ground, then you're good.
And you just spread it out from there. Because then it all becomes one big hub, which is what it is right now.
Sure.
Well, that's a big thing. And I just think what people don't understand is Youngstown is one of 384 major metropolitan cities. So it's cities over 50,000 residents. So, and we're one of, I think it's 13 now, but it was, we're in one of 9 initially that gets this big level of funding. Now, if you're a poor big city, you're in a different category. If poor big city with unemployment, but if you're a poor big city unemployment that has a high unemployment level, but also has a university, you're in a whole different funding category, because what they want is, they want to give you money to try not to be a poor big city.
They want to dig you out of it.
But you have to try. You have to try. And that's where, I mean, these things, you name it, you can get a grant for it, but you probably should have a grant writer first. And we don't have one of those. You should, again.
Wait, let's start there. I mean, grant writers can get you money to run your city.
So, I'm on the board of health. We
don't need one of those.
I was on the board of health in the city. You talk about like a need. We brought up, senior citizens. They were having a hard time getting registered for vaccinations, and specifically in the Black community, they were having a hard time getting people just ready early on. So I said, "Where's the database of our senior citizens? Get the list. Where do they live? We don't have that." What do you mean we don't have that? Like, we don't know where, elderly people live in our city? Okay, we'll take it one step further. All right, well, I know we could geotag when we do ads through our restaurant, so we could take zip code, streets, and make sure that if you're going to have a vaccination site, say on the west side, everyone in this area is going to get a text that that ends up going to St. Christine. So I said, what's our mass communication system that we use? Well, we don't have a mass communication system.
0.
This is 2021. Like, my wife graduated from Kent 8 years ago. She still gets a snow day text. Like, I mean, at least give me something.
The technology, everybody has it in their hands. Everybody's carrying so much technology in their hands that we can just feed people the information that we need. And the technology is not there to put in a place to let anybody even enjoy it, to have it. It's crazy.
And yeah, I mean, that's your it's efficiency, and you empower people. That's where you need those. I mean, there's your sensors. Detroit did something simple like that. You want how where blighted homes are? People in the neighborhood take a picture, log it. That's how they log. I mean, and that's
also definitely the way out of the reputation. I mean, I go to Vegas, I'm wearing a tag that says Youngstown. Whoa. The first thing they think of is something bad, or negative, or mobster days, or you name it. But it's always that's the first thing they think of. We have the ability to do a lot better than this.
And I think we can change that. And I think that has been like our barometer. As long as you don't go to jail. Or you're not corrupt. You're okay.
You got away with
not
it.
Like,
you're okay. You didn't go to jail. Oh, you're fine. You didn't do anything, but that's okay. You didn't go to jail.
And then it acts like it never happened. But everybody outside of Youngstown knows it happened.
Right.
And it's crazy to think of but again, it's government every level. It's crazy to imagine what it would be like if you just really dug in and tried to bring jobs and we had a program in here. We talked about our press conference today, Financially Fit Youngstown. So if you're actually teaching people that they can own their own homes, how to own their own homes from a young age, getting them career ready, giving them soft skills, not just giving jobs, getting them ready for careers. And then also teaching financial fitness. You have generations of kids that have their families never owned their own homes, and really it's because they don't know how to. Mm-hmm. So, would it be crazy if you started to empower some kids to really see they have value or make that change?
Even if those kids are the first ones, they could be the first ones out of their family to make that change.
And it's like, but again. Is that the solution? No clue, but we're going to try. And at least that's all that I want is to try.
And I really think if somebody...
He can do it. He really can do it.
Step up. Be a leader. Be not afraid of your own tongue. Yeah, Don't just say what everybody wants to hear. Nobody believes it anyway. Have some charisma. Lead the troops.
Be in touch with your town.
Yes. Know what the heck. Tim Ryan is more in touch with other countries than he is with his constituents. It's sad. And he gets a pass, and but
that's on a different even level. This is a local
it is,
level.
But it's
this is our local level.
But he's supposed to be.
And you know why? Because the strength, because we don't have relevance here. Like we have to get our house in order, and to have a voice nationally. And it's not, again, we're on a list of 384.
I guarantee if we get our stuff in line and we start bringing this and we start bringing that and we start rattling some phones. Guess what? Guess who's going to be the first person on the phone call coming down? Hey, you want to go to lunch? Who's that going to be? I guarantee all of them will come start coming back to town.
Success has 1,000 fathers.
So
believe me.
So listen. So it ain't. So but that's so the reason why they're not is because there's nothing going on.
So you talked earlier about the downtown events director and some of those things. So that was part of some another program that we looked at. So I think a major area where government can't solve all problems, and especially on a local level, you can't solve every problem, and you have to see where your city hall looks at the problems of the whole, your council looks at the problems of the wards, and where you start to miss is who's dealing with the neighborhoods, and then you get individual needs at that point, and that's where there is collaboration across nonprofit, for-profit, community leaders, all the above. Well, so we want to create a Department of Community Affairs that's focusing directly on neighborhoods, but instead of a downtown events director, we want to go citywide events director, because there's great things that go on in the city. We have no idea that it happens. Mm-hmm. And I stumbled across a spring fest that they had at the church. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, there's things. We have an amphitheater in a Cabelli Center. There's space. I mean, if you drive over that bridge, it's like because in same way you do, your mind starts going. It's like, oh man,
starts spinning.
Like, okay, this is where you can monetize this, and it's crazy. We spoke today about you. You have the naming rights on the Cabelli Center. You have the naming rights on the amphitheater. Putting the naming rights on some of our city parks. Start monetizing those things. Mm-hmm. Our corridors help these are creative ways, and that's how you and I would think. It's how
Right.
It's so why? How is there not a place for that? How is there not a place for efficiency is not allowed either? Like we can't look at
No.
And so that's what I mean. It's just we want to change the whole. I think the enemy of innovation is culture, and if you don't have a strong culture, and you don't have that culture that promotes it, then again, it's not going to happen. I think they can easily talk about it, but I don't think what's being talked about. I don't believe that they know how to get there. I think they know how to maybe put it on a bullet point.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Well, and that's the thing too. I mean, listen, we could talk about we can do this, and I talked to other mayors and other out in Cincinnati and other states, and okay, that's great. But how about right here? How about our community? How about Canfield, Poland, Boardman, Austintown? Let's talk to all those people. How about that? They're all the people that are surrounding all those people that live there. Guess what? They all lived in Youngstown,
and they all come down to Youngstown.
But so that's what I'm saying. So it's like that's where everybody's right here, but we got to communicate. It's got to be a communication. And he's going to do it. That's what I'm saying. He can bring that to Youngstown. That's great. That's why I'm on board with him. It's great. I'm originally West Side, born and raised on the West Side of Youngstown.
I'm just at this point where if you have 4 years and I don't remember one thing you've done, goodbye. I'm not saying you're a bad guy. I'm not saying you did.
No, that's what I'm saying. None of it's
something should be. Oh, somebody should be aware of something. You shouldn't have to. Jeez, I can't remember.
Let's see. Oh, the last.
Because I'm going to tell you,
before an election,
every time I did a function at maybe Eastwood Mall or whatever that had government attached to it, I did all the work, and they got up on stage and patted each other on the back.
Yeah.
I know you're not one of those guys, and I had to sit in the crowd and go, "Wow, look at these guys!"
No, and
glomming onto anything that was positive.
It's the tough, and the tough part has been you have people. I mean, I coach football. I grew up, playing football, playing sports, and I mean, I spent the night anywhere from Cheney Circle in the Kemmelbrooks. Like I was literally, I have a diverse friends and family.
That's where you got to be.
So but if it's not on Facebook, it doesn't happen apparently nowadays. So if you don't get the photo off, like you don't. Yeah. So people instantly, it's like, what has Ryan Kelly done for the inner city, done for these sides? And it's like, that's literally
his whole life.
I mean, we had 2 inner city kids live with us on and off during COVID because they're kids I coach. They're like my family members. So, but again, if you don't if it's not on Facebook,
if you're not being ridiculous with it, I mean, how many selfies can you take?
Well, that's it. What are you going to do? Oh, yeah, I'm here with the kids that I'm trying to have.
Yeah, that's what they'll do. When we brought the lottery show to Eastwood Mall, I'm not kidding you. It took me quite a few lunches. It was trying to get everybody. It was the hardest thing to just get these government politics all on the same page. We all wanted to do it, but so-and-so wanted you to make sure you got him a lunch, and that guy wants his name mentioned, and all this weird stuff that was happening on the other side of it. And then get the heck out of the way so we can cut ribbons and then get back.
And you know what that's
do
for?
Anything.
It's all for just get it reelected.
That's all it is. It becomes a career. It was never meant to be that way.
As a result of what you said earlier, that we've had that poverty mentality and we just squeeze this pot. I think if everybody just not let the dust settle, move the dust out of the way, clear it, and be like,
clean it up.
We literally, who's this powerful arm that we're fighting against now? Because we've alienated. It's been the same.
Yeah, it's true.
Why are we behind in technology? Because it's the same names that have been there for such a long time, and now it's like, okay, let's go take it now. Why wait any longer?
Because if you got somebody like me that comes, something's wrong with the computer, unplug it or kick it. Other than that, get a new computer.
But you
I don't know.
Acknowledge that a computer does something at least, and that's.
And you're acknowledging that you don't know how to do it. And that's the truth. That's Hey, listen, I'm not saying that none of us are saying we have all the answers, but at least let's find the people that do have the answers.
None of those answers. I used to marvel and then I'd make jokes like Jeff Kovacic at Kafiricum, he'd have all his group IT people, and I go, listen, don't be afraid to ask for help. I have an open door policy if anybody needs any help. Unplug it or kick it. Thank you. And they would all laugh like, I'm serious. That's about all I'm going to do. Shake the wires.
We need chairs for this event.
Make sure you get the chairs. Oh my gosh, we need chairs for a concert. I would have never understood that. Get these big committees together and everybody's trying to get their input in. That's for another show. That's funny too. Well, do you have any other like last points that you want to get out and just tell them why?
The big thing is, I truly do believe that we could thrive again. I think all the pieces are there. I think when so many businesses have and are quietly successful in our area in spite of the city government. And again, none of these things are an attack on an individual person. This problem didn't start in the last 4 years or yesterday. It's just we've been so behind for so long and the world slowed down, and this is our opportunity to catch up. And
nobody's held accountable. It's just time.
And
this is the time.
It is.
And we want to take an approach where we're gonna really promote transparency and not just use the word transparency. We have to make our decisions based on data and not politics. It can't be. You have to get out. And it's crazy. You're allowed. There's no law that says you can't canvass in neighborhoods after election time. Like, it's crazy to think about what it would be like if you actually continue to get out in the neighborhood
just for the votes.
And if you want to know
after that, just what?
Yeah, if you want to know exactly, you want to know where there's need at. Again, go walk in these neighborhoods and see. And
they act like they're actually interested in what the people want until after the election.
It's crazy. I mean, you go down. I mean, you have people fighting to get into positions. And I'm like, you guys sat back for 4 years, but now the last 2 weeks you did more in the last 2 weeks than you've done for 4 years.
Start meeting people.
Like, wow.
In your community. That's craziness.
So again, I'll leave you with this, but like in business, and you see, and you work for corporations, everything, you have goals. You set measurable goals, and you know, again, where you're at, where you're going, how you're going to get there. What's the vision? We haven't had a vision and a long-term vision. And that's where I just think that we have to have these long-term visions, hold yourself accountable. And that's what we released today. It was a 100-day plan through really a 3-year plan. If we're not moving in this direction it's on our website, it's on RyanKellyForMayor.com. If we're not making progress in these areas, I'm not running for re-election. Why would I? If we're still the poorest city in America, I'm not running for re-election. Why would I? Again, if I can't be effective, I don't need to keep getting a paycheck. Right. And that's reality.
Somebody else makes
So what's the other candidate's plan? Get jobs. Let me think.
Well, I think I can. So here's the thing, and again, I'm not. Again, this isn't like this is not digs on the opponents, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, they say they want jobs. But then there's businesses that are out there that we've talked to. He's talked to. I've talked to. I mean, existing businesses that want to work with the city and want to do things. Nothing. No phone calls back. No nothing. We've went and talked to several people. I mean, I'm like, geez, like there's a lot of stuff going on that's not going on. Why? Oh,
that's really sad.
No, it is.
I mean, that's really sad if it's like.
And I think I said it today. I said like. It's almost the like working at election time, and this is where I kind of gotten like I got pissed in the last couple of weeks. It's like if you're doing these things now, that tells me that you knew what should
about them.
You really know what should have been done in this time. But talking about our budget, not only did I balance it, but I got a surplus. Well, you leave CARE Act money in there, and if you just do simple math, we're at a deficit. We take that out, we're at a deficit. Again,
exactly.
We had $4.4 million that
brag about that and say, well, no, we're good now. I mean, really?
Exactly. You want to put in, that's the thing. We said this is my playbook. This is how we're walking in. We have a plan. We're no longer going to pay for the sins of the past because we're going to have something ready going in. It's not going to be a shock to me. I'm winning on May 4th. We're going to win on November 2nd. And I mean, I'm prepared now. And that's the biggest part is pulling yourself back because it's a campaign and it's not, but that's how any of us again in here would operate. You start, I feel like your wheels were going when, I'm starting to say some of these things. It's like you start to think
know a lot of that was going on.
And I put it out there earlier. The only candidate that has a plan.
Yeah.
The only candidate that has a plan.
That alone should win you
and that's, again, I think there's never been a better time for
from the hip.
Yeah.
And the plan's on his website. Go check it out.
Yeah.
Go read it.
How crazy is that? An actual plan that we could look at.
How about that?
Wow. I remember Joe Biden's plan. Okay, that's another show. That's another show. Well, I really appreciate you coming down.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And now I know a whole lot more than I did before. And Donnie, it's always a pleasure seeing you.
Tom. Yeah,
and I brought my little plan for you to take a look at too.
Oh, thank you.
This one's yours here.
Some good reading material.
Yeah. Thank you. And a lot. Do you have any poll numbers? Do you have any idea where you might be sitting?
No, I mean nothing. There was a Vindicator poll that came out. It was just simply whether should Mayor Tito Brown get reelected another term, and it was I think 69% no. But, you can't go off those things, and again, it's just and you don't know who to respond. I think the biggest most important thing is people have to go vote. They have to go vote. That's the biggest.
It's very difficult
because they really don't see. The more you're not doing anything, the more that they don't care about.
That really doesn't affect me.
Well, we've completely
nothing's going to get better anyway.
But it is.
We've lowered our expectations to meet our level of service in our city. That's what it is. And you know what? We got 63,000 people in the city, 22,000 registered, and they're estimating it might be 4,000 votes total in this election.
That's it.
That's a problem.
That's it.
And that's sad. And that's
because
sad.
There's nothing else out there. So
can we do what Democrats do and bust people and promise them food and stuff? I mean, can we do that? Seems
Donnie
to work.
promised pizza to some people. I think they didn't buy on it.
That alone might get them down there.
I was buying pizzas today down here.
Thank God, it would get me out there. Because I have had your pizza.
Yeah.
Well, again, guys, thanks. And
thank you very much.
When you do become mayor, then we'll have you back on for even a longer time.
And we're gonna get creative with some event. Donnie and I already started talking about some of them.
Yeah, some really cool events, and obviously, Tom, I'll call you back.
Well,
we can plan some events. I think
I was doing events when nobody was doing anything. Now everybody's a promoter and knows events now.
And we've worked on a few shows. Right?
Exactly, a lot of shows. But it's amazing. Well, the guy that in 2000 was doing events when mid 90s. I don't want to date myself, but mid 90s. There was nowhere else to go. We were doing the only thing in town.
You're right.
And nobody wants my opinion on how I don't have any contacts across the country. Okay, cut. I'm done before this goes a lot different.
Well, we're here.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
And again, thanks to Joe Danier with an unbelievable setup here.
Yeah, great setup. This is the first time I came down.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, this is awesome.
He's really something else, man. Very talented man.
Cool.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Tom.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, bud.